Hey there, it's Ben from patternprofits.net, bringing you some velocity scan ideas for the upcoming week. We're looking at Domo. China stocks have been hot. I have anchored VWAP here from the gap. Big volume back here on this prior run is now in an ascending channel. You can see these bounces off the lower trend line, resistance found at the upper trend line. Again, found support at that lower trend line Thursday of last week. On Friday, it reclaimed anchored VWAP. This is off the handoff from the gap here. Reclaimed that level, broke the descending trend line. You also have 50 MA cloud support just below and the volume shelf. Very easy to manage risk here very tightly. Watching for this to take out this declining anchored VWAP that's off of the high. That would be the last level to really clear. And then you can look for a run at least back up to this upper channel line, if not higher. HIMX, HIMAX. This one more of a flag pattern up high. Again, it's this big volume, even some back here and here, that puts it on my radar, flagging up high, holding that 10 MA cloud. If I bring the volume by price over, you'll see sitting right there at the point of control. Need to push through this volume weighted average price off the high, break the descending trend line, but then you can get a run up towards those prior highs, and eventually through that prior high is at 1788. We also have HYRE. This more of a triangle pattern. I've seen actually quite a few of these, highlighted them in the last video too. Volume point of control, volume shelf right there where we closed on Friday. 10 MA support resistance just above, but 20 MA support and the ascending trend line of the triangle just below. You do have anchored VWAP off of the high just above to be aware of. Would love to see this take out both the declining trend line and the anchored VWAP in one big move. We're inside here on Friday too, so can manage that as it comes out. And like I said, hopefully sees it push right through the anchored VWAP off of the high. Next we have Inseego. This is kind of a wild moving stock. It's all over the place, but when it does go, it really does move. I have anchored VWAP off the gap off here. That was the big volume move back here. Held as support on Thursday. Got a nice little move off of that support on Friday. You also have 50-day moving average cloud just below. So what you're looking for here is for this to come out and at least get back to that anchored VWAP. This is what we refer to as the pinch, when it stays within the anchored VWAP from either from the low, you put one on here too, or from the gap. So what we want to see is this come through here. You can target back up here. I think this is around, this is just over 1910. So any move up through here, you get that move up to 1910. Then you may see this come back, and then you're looking for the push through. So it's usually wise to take some off up here, let it go sideways. Maybe it's another inside day, and then it pushes through that, and then you can target that prior high, 2193 up above. I have a few power earnings gap plays. These are ones that recently reported earnings, had a big move on good volume, and now have pulled back to the anchored VWAP. Many of you are probably familiar with this technique as I discussed on the TrendSpider. I'll again put the link to this video in the comment section. Anchored VWAP off of the gap from the EPS, big volume move here, has pulled back right to that anchored VWAP off the gap. Volume shelf point of control right there where it closed, looking for this one to make the turn. Very similar. We discussed this one last week on FinTwit. Dynatrace, same type thing where you have the gap, big volume on the EPS report. Anchored VWAP from there was reclaimed on Friday. Tried to go and tried to break that descending trend line, but came back in with the market. Volume shelf, point of control just below. Looks good to go if this can make the turn. I like this one on strength only. One of the big boys, Google, actually making the list this week. Same type play here. You had the big gap. Not the best day. You like to see them close high in the range on those EPS days, but the volume weighted average price has acted as support. Along the way, it's still rising. Price just above that and just below the 10 MA cloud, but volume shelf, point of control is right there. So you're looking for that to make the turn. Again, very easy to manage with anchored VWAP and the volume shelf just below. If it rolls over and you did take it long, very easy and quick to get out with minimal loss. DGII, this is another one that I'm looking for it to make the turn. You do have a bit of a flag pattern setting up here. Needs to reclaim the volume shelf, but this is another one that had huge volume back here on the EPS report. Had a nice run, pulled back with the market. Market was weak last week, so common to see this come back in. Look for the reclaim of anchored VWAP off the gap and then the breakthrough of the descending trend line. Have another one, Teradata. It's very similar, and this one's getting even tighter here. A little triangle type pattern or pennant formation. 10 MA cloud support sitting right on anchored VWAP off the gap. Again, you like to see them finish, higher in the range on these EPS reports, but it did have nice volume, strong volume, and really strong shortly after that report. Came in nicely. Volume has really quieted down here as it pulled back. Again, this is in a spot that's easy to manage with an inside day on Friday. One more, ALLT. Similar type setup here. Again, power earnings gap plays. Big volume on the power earnings gap. Comes back in, fills it. 10 MA cloud support. Reclaimed volume shelf are sitting very close to it. Reclaimed the point of control. Now just looking to clear that volume weighted average price from the gap day. Big volume back here as well. That's again what puts it on my radar. And then big volume again came in with the gap on the EPS report. I do have all of these power earnings gap plays. I think there's about 45 of them now. Linked in TrendSpider. I've shared that link. Hit me on FinTwit if any of you don't have that link. I update it automatically for you so we can keep track of those going forward. That's all I've got for this week. Hope you guys have a great trading week, and I'll see you over on FinTwit.